A corrupt judge glares at Pam Bondi, Attorney General, ready to crush her in court. She stands unshaken, her legal genius about to unravel his schemes in a tense showdown that will leave the courtroom stunned. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation, the air thick with tension. Reporters scribbled furiously, their pens scratching like a chorus of cicadas. At the center of it all stood Pam Bondi, the United States Attorney General, her posture calm, but her eyes sharp, cutting through the room like a blade. Opposite her, elevated on the bench, Judge Victor Hargrove loomed, his gavel resting like a scepter. His reputation preceded him, whispers of backroom deals and political favors trailing him like a shadow. Today, he was determined to make Bondi bend. The case was explosive. A group of whistleblowers, Bondi's clients, accused of leaking classified documents to expose corruption in a powerful federal agency. The charges were flimsy, a thinly veiled attempt to silence them. Hargrove, known for his ties to the agency's leadership, had been handpicked to ensure a conviction. He leaned forward, his voice dripping with condescension. "Ms. Bondi, I hope you've prepared something more substantial than your usual theatrics. This court deals in facts, not headlines," the gallery murmured. Bondi didn't flinch. Her voice was steady, each word deliberate. "Your Honor, my arguments are grounded in legal precedent, not politics. The charges against my clients lack merit, and I intend to prove it." Hargrove's lips curled into a smirk, sensing an opportunity to assert dominance. He waved a hand dismissively. "Proceed, but don't waste my time with grandstanding." Bondi stepped forward, her heels clicking on the polished floor. She began her opening statement, her tone measured but commanding. "The prosecution's case rests on a misapplication of the Espionage Act. My clients acted in the public interest, exposing systemic abuse. Their arrests violate their First Amendment rights." She cited a string of cases, each precedent a brick in the wall she was building. The room grew quieter, her words pulling the audience in. Hargrove interrupted, his voice booming. "Ms. Bondi, you're reaching. The Espionage Act is clear. Your clients endangered national security." His eyes gleamed, relishing the chance to put her in her place. Bondi met his gaze, unflinching. "With respect, Your Honor, the act requires intent to harm. My clients sought to protect, not destroy." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. "I'll demonstrate this through evidence and testimony." The judge scoffed, but Bondi pressed on, undeterred. She introduced her first witness, a former agency insider who detailed the corruption her clients had uncovered. The testimony was damning, painting a picture of greed and abuse at the agency's core. Bondi's questioning was surgical, each query peeling back layers of deceit. The witness's voice trembled, but Bondi's calm presence steadied them, her confidence a beacon in the storm. In the gallery, a young law intern named Mia Alvarez watched, her notebook forgotten in her lap. She'd heard of Bondi's reputation, a prosecutor turned attorney general with a knack for dismantling opponents. But seeing her in action was something else. Mia felt a spark, a realization that preparation and poise could shift the tides of justice. Hargrove, however, was unmoved. He leaned back, arms crossed, his skepticism a palpable force. As Bondi concluded her witness, he interjected again. "This is all very compelling, Ms. Bondi, but it's irrelevant. Your clients broke the law. No amount of storytelling changes that." His tone was sharp, meant to rattle her. The prosecution, a slick attorney named Gregory Wells, nodded smugly from his table. Bondi's expression didn't waver. She turned to the judge, her voice cutting through the tension. "Your Honor, the law protects those who expose corruption, not those who enable it. If you'll allow me to continue, the evidence will speak for itself." Hargrove's jaw tightened. He wasn't used to being challenged, especially not by someone so composed. He waved her on, but his eyes promised a fight. As Bondi prepared her next move, the courtroom held its breath. She was laying a trap, each piece of evidence a step toward dismantling the prosecution's case. Hargrove's arrogance blinded him to the storm brewing. Mia, watching from the sidelines, sensed it too, a shift in the air. Bondi wasn't just fighting for her clients, she was exposing the rot Hargrove protected. The battle was just beginning, and the judge had no idea what was coming. The courtroom pulsed with unspoken tension as Pam Bondi adjusted her notes, her calm exterior masking the calculated fury beneath. Judge Hargrove's dismissive smirk lingered, his confidence a fortress, built on years of unchallenged power. He thought he had her cornered, but Bondi was weaving a net, and every word, every exhibit, tightened the strands around him. Mia Alvarez, the young intern, clutched her pen, her heart racing as she sensed the tide turning. The air crackled with the promise of a reckoning. Bondi called her next witness, Dr. Elena Ruiz, a forensic accountant who had analyzed the agency's financial records. Ruiz's testimony was a grenade, detailing a web of offshore accounts and slush funds tied to the agency's leadership. Bondi's questions were precise, guiding Ruiz to reveal how the whistleblower's leaks had exposed these transactions. "Dr. Ruiz," Bondi said, her voice clear, "can you confirm the funds were used to influence policy decisions?" Ruiz nodded, her data unassailable. The gallery stirred, reporters exchanging glances. Hargrove shifted in his seat, his facade of control cracking. "Ms. Bondi," he snapped, "this is a fishing expedition. Financial records don't justify treason." His tone was venomous, meant to intimidate. Bondi turned to him, her gaze steady. "Your Honor, these records prove motive. My clients exposed corruption, not secrets. The prosecution's charges are a distraction from the real crime." Her words landed like a slap, and Hargrove's face reddened. He banged his gavel. "Watch your tone, counselor." The prosecution's attorney, Gregory Wells, seized the moment, leaping to his feet. "Objection. The defense is speculating without evidence tying these records to the defendant's actions." His voice was smug, mirroring Hargrove's arrogance. Bondi didn't hesitate. "The evidence is in the leaks themselves, which I'll present next. Unless the prosecution objects to the truth?" Wells faltered and the gallery buzzed. Mia scribbled furiously, captivated by Bondi's refusal to yield. Bondi introduced a series of encrypted emails decoded by her team that linked the agency's funds to Hargrove's political allies. The implications were explosive, suggesting the judge's own bias in the case. She projected the emails on a screen, each line a dagger. "These communications," Bondi said, "show the agency's leadership colluded to silence my clients. Their arrests were retaliation, not justice." The courtroom erupted in whispers, and Hargrove's gavel slammed again, demanding order. "You're out of line, Ms. Bondi," Hargrove roared, his composure unraveling. "This court will not tolerate baseless accusations." His voice trembled, betraying his fear. Bondi remained unfazed. "The accusations are in the evidence, Your Honor. If you find them baseless, I invite you to review the documents." Her calm defiance was a masterstroke, exposing Hargrove's desperation. Mia watched, awestruck, as Bondi turned the judge's aggression against him. Wells, sensing the momentum slipping, tried to redirect. He cross-examined Ruiz, twisting her words to paint the whistleblowers as reckless. But Bondi's preparation shone through. She re-examined Ruiz, reinforcing the accountant's credibility, and dismantling Wells's arguments with surgical precision. Each exchange was a blow to the prosecution, and the courtroom felt it. Even the bailiff, a stoic figure, leaned forward, caught in the drama. Hargrove, now visibly rattled, called a recess, his gavel striking like a petulant child's fist. As the room emptied, Mia overheard reporters speculating about Hargrove's ties to the agency. The intern's mind raced, piecing together the stakes. Bondi wasn't just defending her clients, She was challenging a system that protected men like Hargrove. Mia caught Bondi's eye as she packed her briefcase, and Bondi offered a faint nod, as if acknowledging the intern's unspoken admiration. Back in session, Bondi prepared to unveil her next exhibit, a recorded conversation between agency officials plotting to frame the whistleblowers. The tape was a bombshell, and she knew it. Hargrove's earlier interruptions had only fueled her resolve. As she cued the audio, the judge's eyes narrowed, sensing danger. The first words crackled through the speakers, and the room froze. Bondi's trap was closing, and Hargrove was about to learn how deep her genius ran. The courtroom was a pressure cooker, as the audio crackled to life, voices of agency officials spilling their conspiracy to frame Pam Bondi's clients. Each word was a nail in the prosecution's coffin, and Judge Hargrove's face tightened, his knuckles white around his gavel. Pam Bondi stood poised, her eyes locked on the judge, daring him to interrupt. The tape played on, revealing a plot to fabricate evidence, orchestrated to protect the agency's secrets. The gallery gasped, reporters scribbling frantically as the officials' voices laid bare their corruption. Bondi paused the recording, letting the silence amplify the damning words. "Your Honor," she said, her voice ablade. "This tape proves my clients were targeted to silence their whistleblowing. The charges against them are a sham." Hargrove's jaw clenched, his earlier arrogance replaced by barely concealed panic. He leaned forward, his voice low and menacing. "Ms. Bondi, you're treading dangerous ground. This court will not be swayed by sensationalism." The threat hung heavy, but Bondi didn't blink. "The only danger here is to justice, Your Honor, if this evidence is ignored." The prosecution's attorney, Gregory Wells, scrambled to his feet, his face flushed. "Objection. The authenticity of this recording is unverified." His voice cracked, betraying his desperation. Bondi turned to him, her calm a stark contrast to his unraveling. "The tape was obtained legally and verified by independent experts, as documented in Exhibit 12. Would you like me to walk you through it?" The gallery murmured, and Wells sank back, outmaneuvered. Mia Alvarez, the intern, watched in awe, her notebook filled with Bondi's every move, each one a lesson in precision. Hargrove, desperate to regain control, pounded his gavel. "Enough! Ms. Bondi, you're testing my patience. This court will not be turned into a circus." His words were meant to intimidate, but they only fueled Bondi's fire. She stepped closer to the bench, her voice steady but piercing. "With respect, Your Honor, the circus began when my clients were arrested on fabricated charges. I'm here to restore order." The room stilled, the audacity of her challenge electrifying the air. Even the bailiff shifted, caught in the intensity. Bondi shifted gears, calling her final witness, a former agency whistleblower who had faced similar retaliation years prior. His testimony was raw, detailing how the agency had destroyed his career to bury his revelations. Bondi's questioning was masterful, drawing parallels to her client's plight. "They tried to break me," the witness said, his voice trembling, "just like they're trying to break them." Bondi nodded, her empathy genuine but strategic, turning the jury's hearts as much as their minds. Wells's cross-examination was feeble, his questions deflected by the witness's conviction, and Bondi's swift objections. Hargrove's interruptions grew erratic, his rulings increasingly biased. "Sustained," he barked at one of Bondi's objections, even when Wells had overstepped. The gallery noticed, whispers spreading like wildfire. Mia caught a reporter muttering about Hargrove's ties to the agency, the judge's impartiality now openly questioned. Bondi, sensing the shift, pressed her advantage. She presented a final piece of evidence, a leaked memo from the agency directing local law enforcement to arrest her clients without cause. The document was irrefutable, its letterhead a brand of guilt. "This memo," Bondi declared, "is the blueprint of a conspiracy. My clients are not criminals. They're victims. The jury leaned forward, their faces a mix of shock and outrage. Hargrove's gavel hovered, but he didn't strike, his authority eroding with every revelation. The judge called a brief recess, his voice strained. As the courtroom emptied, Mia overheard a juror whisper to another, "She's got him on the ropes." Bondi, gathering her files, caught Mia's eye again, her faint smile a spark of encouragement. The intern felt a surge of purpose, seeing, in Bondi, the power of preparation and courage. Back in session, Hargrove's demeanor was colder, his eyes burning with defiance. He was cornered, and everyone knew it. Bondi stood ready to deliver her closing argument, the final blow in a battle that had exposed not just the agency, but the judge himself. The room braced for impact, sensing the end was near. The courtroom reconvened, the air heavy with the weight of what was to come. Judge Hargrove sat rigid, his icy stare fixed on Pam Bondi as she rose for her closing argument. His earlier bravado had crumbled, replaced by a defiant glare that masked his dread. The gallery leaned forward, reporters poised, sensing the climax of a battle that had unraveled a corrupt system. Mia Alvarez, the young intern, held her breath, her notebook trembling. In her hands, Bondi's faint smile from the recess lingered in her mind, a reminder of the power of unwavering resolve. Bondi stepped to the center of the room, her presence commanding. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury," she began, her voice resonant. This case was never about national security. It was about silencing those who dared to expose corruption. She recounted the evidence, the tape, the memo, the witnesses, each piece a thread in the tapestry of truth she'd woven. "My clients are not traitors. They are patriots, targeted by an agency desperate to hide its crimes." Her words were a scalpel, cutting through the prosecution's lies. Hargrove's fingers twitched around his gavel, his urge to interrupt palpable. But the jury's rapt attention held him in check, their faces reflecting the impact of Bondi's argument. She turned to them, her gaze earnest. "The law protects whistleblowers, not those who conspire against them. You have the power to uphold justice." Her voice softened, but its strength echoed. "Let my clients walk free, and let the truth prevail." Gregory Wells, the prosecution's attorney, rose for his closing, his voice strained. He clung to the Espionage Act, painting the whistleblowers as reckless, but his words fell flat, overshadowed by Bondi's evidence. The jury's eyes drifted. To her, their trust in her case unshaken. Hargrove, sensing the tide, leaned forward, his voice sharp. "Ms. Bondi, you've had your say. The jury will decide based on law, not your theatrics." The jab was desperate, and Bondi met it with a calm nod. "I trust the jury to see the law clearly, Your Honor." The jury deliberated for hours, the courtroom suspended in agonizing silence. Mia watched Bondi confer with her team, her composure a beacon amidst the tension. Reporters whispered about Hargrove's ties, the leaked memo now a scandal beyond. The courtroom. When the jury returned, the foreman stood, his voice steady. "We find the defendants not guilty on all charges." The gallery erupted, cheers mingling with gasps. Bondi's clients embraced, tears streaming, as she offered them a quiet nod of triumph. Hargrove's face was stone, but his eyes betrayed defeat. He raised his gavel, his voice hollow. "The charges are dismissed. Court adjourned." The gavel fell, a final, futile assertion of control. Bondi turned to her clients, her relief subtle but profound. The room buzzed as reporters surged forward, clamoring for her statement. She declined, her focus on her clients, guiding them through the chaos with the same steady hand she'd shown in court. Mia, still in the gallery, watched Bondi's every move, her admiration now afire. She scribbled a final note. "Preparation and courage win." As the courtroom cleared, she approached Bondi, hesitant. "Ms. Bondi, I'm an intern. Your work today, It's why I want to be a lawyer. Bondi's eyes softened. Keep learning, keep fighting, she said, her voice warm. The law needs people like you. Mia nodded, her purpose cemented. Outside, the story broke, headlines screaming of the agency's corruption and Hargrove's exposure. Investigations into his conduct began, his career teetering. Bondi's victory rippled, inspiring calls for reform. For her, it was another day's work. But for Mia and countless others, it was a lesson in justice's power when wielded with skill and heart. As Bondi stepped into the sunlight, her silhouette sharp against the courthouse, she carried the weight of a system challenged and a truth upheld, her legacy etched in the lives she'd touched and the wrongs she'd righted.